Good morning. I thought this morning I don't do very much to camera on my Facebook lives, but I thought I'd come in this way this morning. So good morning, lovely to see you if you are with us. Apologies that this is later than our normal 9 o'clock time. I'm just drinking my first cup of tea of the day, so we haven't even got through the first tea of the day yet. So my name is Helen Jennings. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and on a Monday and a Friday I normally come in and do a Facebook Live and we do some crafting. So that's what we're going to do in a minute. So I thought I'd come on first and just say hello, ask how everybody is doing. It's a week today. Christmas Day is a week today. Now, I don't know whether that fills you with excitement, dread, fear of all the jobs that you've still got to do. I'm not quite sure where you sit on the whole. Christmas Day is a week today. I have a lot left to do, and one of the reasons I'm late this morning is I had a scheduled thing that I had to finish last night that had to be in, so it ended up being really quite early this morning. So I haven't been up and about quite as early as I'd normally be. So I thought I'd just pop on, as I say, come face to face and say hello, ask how you're all doing. So do pop on and say hello. We will do a bit of crafting. I'll swap you around in a minute. I've dug a few bits out and we'll see where that takes us. But yeah, so next week obviously is going to look a little bit different. I don't know if all of you are who's working, who's just sitting at home eating chocolate and mince pies. I shall carry on working for the first few days of next week. So Monday's Facebook Live should be as normal, but I'm not going to come in next Friday morning. I will try and do a video that I post up, but I'm not going to come in live, funny enough. I'm going to be looking to see what Father Christmas has brought me, if anything, if I've been a good girl. I think that's part of it, isn't it, Jackie? Jackie's saying that she's got lots to do, but it's probably not going to do much of it. I think, part of it is about what actually do I need to do this year. But there's still things. My cakes still need icing. That's mainly for me because nobody else in the immediate household eats Christmas cake. So that's a job for me. I've got my ones to go out to the girls. So we need our cakes icing. I need presents writing. I need cards writing and sending and delivering. And so there's lots of jobs that I do need to do, but I think there'll be quite a few that don't get done. But so next week, yes, we'll be here on Monday, but I won't be here on Friday. So I thought we'd have a play this morning with something new that's coming out in the new catalogue. That, of course, will launch on the 5th of January. So that's coming up. So we'll have a bit of a play with something from that this morning. So I'm going to ask you to hold on to your hat. I'll have another slurp of my tea and then I'll turn you round. And we'll have a bit of a play. So hang on to your hats. Let's turn the camera around. There we go. Hook you up. Six pavlovas and should make a cake or two. Yeah. Merry Christmas, Sophie. It's we've got a little way to go yet, but a week today. So we perhaps ought to have our Christmas music playing, jingle bells. Now we're going to go pretty un-Christmassy. Having said all of that, Christmas is only a week to go, lots of preparations to do. We're going flowers this morning. Morning, Hilary. We're going to go with Pretty Perennials. So this is one of the new stamp and die sets out of the spring mini January to June mini catalogue. A really nice sort of watercolour effect flower stamp set with some nice, I love this big happy and some dies and things that go with it that we're going to be able to play with. So we're going to have a bit of a play with this morning, and we're going to be playing with another new product as well, and we might even play with two. Oh, decisions. yeah, this is coming up. Now this was actually, when you see on a stamp set, when you see this sort of little gold emblem just here, that means that this stamp set has been designed, helped to be designed by a demonstrator who's had $1 million in sales during their career in Stamping Up. And this one was designed by a lady called Dina Recal, which I know some of my lovely customers do like to follow her Facebook lives and YouTube videos and things, and happy was one thing that she definitely wanted to be in her stamp set. She loves to send happy mail, she loves to send happy cards, so that's why that happy has got such a prominent place in this stamp set. And we all need a bit of happy, so that's all good. Right, I'm going to take a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Now I'm sure we have mentioned that Whisper White cardstock, the paper mill that produced Whisper White cardstock, has gone out of business during this pandemic, and Stampin' Up have had to source a new white cardstock, which they have done. It's going to be called Basic White, but we're not quite sure how much of a delay there's going to be between the one running out and the new one coming in. So white cardstock may become a bit precious. So we've got some precious white cardstock just there. And I'm going to bring in another new product, I think, that is coming in the new catalogue. Now, there's only 2 here, you get 3. That's because I used one yesterday and I've given it a wash, so it's wet and sitting on the sink. So these are blending brushes. Now, you need to have feely vision. If you've not come across these before, you need to be able to feel them. They feel like velvet. They are actually bristles. You can sort of, I don't know whether you can pick that up. They are actually bristles, but they are rounded, very, very soft. So they feel like velvet, and they are blending brushes, and you have 3 in your pack. They're quite flexible, got quite flexible sort of arms on them. Stampin' Up colours, obviously, in that brown. I'm going to pop one back in the bag, and I think we'll start by doing some blending on the background here. Now then, I've only literally just started using these blending brushes. I used one for the first time yesterday. I think I'm going to grab, let's go greeny sort of backgrounds. I think I'm going to get some Pear Pizzazz, and I might add some saffron, so quite soft colours, so green and yellow there. I'm going to open up my ink pad, and I'm going to rub my blending brush, sort of a circular motion, on the surface of that ink pad, and then pressing it down, and you can see that I've picked up some green ink. I'm going to blob it onto the mat so I don't get a big blob as I first start to come onto my card, and I'm just going to, in circular motion, again blend over the top of that cardstock, and you can see how that green is all transferring onto that card, blending beautifully. So these will, in the main replace our sponges. There'll be things we might want to use our sponges for, but in terms of certainly blending big areas, they are beautiful. Now, just going to take a bit of scrap paper there and just give that a bit of a rub. Make sure that we've got the excess of ink off of there, and you can see that most of it has rubbed away just on this corner just here. There's some ink sitting on the top. I'm going to use that same brush, and I'm going to rub it over the top of my saffron. we've got some yellow ink on there. I'm going to come in blend over the top with the yellow. I've got this green and yellow ink that's sitting on the top here. I'm going to pick that up. Beautiful. And now I have a really lovely green and yellow blended background there. So I shall rub the excess ink off of here. Just going to run that into the tap when I've finished. Clean that up. So you don't need to worry particularly about having, you know, a brush for each colour or anything like that. You might want a couple of packs just to keep you going, so that while they're drying, because you don't really want to use them while they're wet, because that will give a whole different blending effect. It will make it a bit more smeary. But there's our background. Right, I'm going to dive into my oddments of Whisper White. I have lots of oddments of Whisper White. So we're going to use those to stamp and colour some of our flowers and things. Yep, just gathered up a little handful of oddments. Right, so I'm going to stamp and die cut these to go on the top of my inked background. So what we have a big flower and a smaller flower. We have a variety of inside bits, so this one and this one that we could use to stamp onto the inside of this flower. Got these little dots just here that could come in here. We've got sort of two-step stamping on these leaves and on this small flower just here and this leaf. You've got a little flower just here that you could add colour to. Happy mail, happy birthday, you make me happy, sending lots of happy for you. So lots of happy greetings. So let's have a little play and create something with these flowers. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat, because it is a photopolymer stamp set, but we need it to be a photopolymer stamp set ideally to be able to build up these flowers and things. So what colours shall we have to go on top of our background? I've got some Coastal Cabana, Calypso Coral, I always call that Coastal Cabana, Calypso Coral, some Blushing Bride, oh, let's have a bit of Highland Heather, and we'll need some greens. I should probably use a bit of Pear Pizzazz. Let's bring in a bit of Granny Apple Green as well. Okay, let's start with this big flower just here. Now obviously this is the first time these have been stamped, so I am going to do a test stamp on a bit of scrap paper. So let's ink that up. Beautiful. So they are this sort of watercolour effect, so you're not going to get a completely solid image. It's not intended to be completely solid. It is intended to have this sort of soft watercolour effect. So let's have one, and I think we'll have two of those big flowers in Petal Pink. Let me just grab my simply chamois. I've done my usual trick of laying it in some water and then leaving it in the kitchen. Let's just squeeze that out. Oops, sorry, apologies for wobbling you. Let's give that a clean. And let's have a Highland Heather big flower too. And I'm just going to do one of those. They're very jolly, aren't they, those flowers? So let's swap our stamp out, and I'm going to take this one just here, and this flower centre, and some Calypso coral. Let's just give that a test stamp, and then in the centre of my Blushing Bride flower, I'm going to add those Calypso coral centres. Those are fun, aren't they? Then I think for the Highland Heather one, I'm going to come in with these blobby stamps. Now I might, I think I'm going to grab Gorgeous Grape. So we'll stick with the sort of purpley tones, just come in darker. It's a nice thing when you're doing these sort of flowery stamps, you can really play with colour. There we go. So those flowers suddenly look really quite different just by changing out that centrepiece. Now I'm going to come in with this smaller flower. Now I'm going to ink that up with Calypso coral. Let's give it a test stamp, but I'm going to stamp it off so it's a second generation Calypso coral, so it's a slightly different tone again. Let's bring in another bit of cardstock. Now for that one, I'm going to bring in these little centre pieces, and I'm going to grab the Mango Melody, I think. So a nice orangey yellow sort of centre going on in there. Could of course do that in black or anything you like. And this flower just here, put that little bit back. And I'm going to go now, what I'm going to do, I think, with those is I'm going to take my blending brush and come back into my So Saffron ink. And I'm going to tickle over the top of those with So Saffron, and then I shall be die cutting those in a minute. we go. And then we want some leaves. I'm just going to pop the lids on here. Now let's just have a quick look at our dies. So we have got this nice leaf shape just here, so I think we'll die cut one of those in a minute. And then we've got two of these larger leaves in dies. We've got two of the smaller leaves in dies, so that's quite exciting. So let's bring in this smaller leaf. Now somewhere, there it is, I picked up Granny Apple Green. So I'm going to stamp might go for 4 just because we've got 2 dies, so we'll be able to do those in 2 runs. So let's stamp 4 outlines of the little Granny Apple Green, and then I'm going to take the inner piece on my scrap paper and let's stamp it off to fill those in. So there's some little leaves. That back on there. Now let's take this bigger leaf. We're getting quite a little collection of things now. And I'm going to take the pear pizzazz with this one. And let's again, I'll do 4. We might not use 4, but as I've got 2 dies, I can be die cutting 2 at a time. And the leaf inner. That way, I think. There we go. Right, let's die cut those and see where that takes us. These leaves back. Little flower back. Put those there for now. Now my nice scraps of Whisper White were all well under 8.5 centimetres we measured the other day. Oh, no, need a plate in there, Helen. Hadn't got the bottom of my sandwich. Now let's bring it round this way because we'll have a bit more variety of things that we're running through. So, peeling these dies off their sticky, I shall find a magnetic sheets to pop them on soon. We need just to find which direction is definitely not that one. That one, I think. So that one just there for that flower. Let's bring in two of our little leaf dies. There's one and there's another. And we have this one as well. Okay. Just going to bring that back so it's all sitting on that bottom plate nicely, otherwise it won't cut if you haven't got the full... Oh, look, that little leaf has moved before we go anywhere else. Stay. Stay. Now that one's moved. Oh, you pickle. Going to get my masking tape out in a minute. We'll stick them down. Otherwise we could be here a very long time. Let's see if we can just manage to run this one through before I do that. Now we've got them all laid out. I think that leaf might have moved slightly, just slightly. So we've got a leaf. Another leaf. A purple flower. And a little calypso coral. They're pretty jolly, aren't they, those little flowers? Let's get some low tack tape. Whoa, nearly knocked my tea over. One. Two. Now what I might do at some point is sit and fiddle with this and put a mark both on my die and on the stamp to indicate a top. So I can mark the top of that die as this is the top and do the same with the stamp so that it lines up. Flower, two more leaves, one, and put that die away now because we've die cut all our little leaves. You might be glad of that bit of, let's just get rid of that excess card off of there. There's that one. I'm going to trim a smidge off the edge of there. And one and two. So there's our big flowers cut. And two of our leaves. One, two. Let's put our other two leaves on. One, two, and let's bring in these flowers here. I should be able to get that one and that one on the plate. Another two leaves. A medium flower. So there is a tiny flower as well, but we've not cut that one. A stalky flower. So one more stalky flower to go. Like that. And then the other thing that I want is one of these, and we'll do that just trying to get my hands on a bit of Pear Pizzazz card. See, I thought I wasn't getting away with not sticking that down, but I think it moved a little bit on that stalk just there. Don't need to worry about that because we're not actually cutting anything out there. We're not lining anything up. So here we have a really nice sort of detailed leaf. Just tuck that up. So useful. And there is our other. Now, ooh. Let's bring in our trimmer and we'll cut down that piece of pear pizzazz. Hi Glenda. Yes. I think to mark a die, Jackie, I think I'd just use like one of my permanent markers. Just put a little mark at the top and just say, this is the top. Hi Glenda. Yes, it will be very good when we can get a magnetic sheet for our little one as well. Oh, that wasn't quite half a bit of cardstock, was it? That had a bit trimmed off the end. That's exciting, but that's all right. That will get used up in another project. Let's cut that at 14.9. Score this one at 10.5. And hopefully, yes, that will fold beautifully. I'll have a look at those stamps and dies and how we could mark them so that they line up. And I will post some pictures and things when I've done that. I think my brain is a bit too tired this morning to be completely thinking on the hoof. Thinking out loud, yes. Thinking on the hoof, perhaps not quite so much so. So I've got a So Saffron card base, a pear pizzazz layer, and then we've got our sponged layer. Oh, it wiggled. I didn't mean to bring my pile of Christmas cards in this morning and share. Perhaps I'll do that on Monday. That will be something quite nice to do on Monday. So we have our big leaf, flowers. That one went a bit wiggly when we cut it, so perhaps we'll do that. We have our purple and yellow flowers. They really are nice bold images, aren't they? We've got big leaves, so we'll probably only use 3. We cut 4 out because we've got the 2 dies. And it's that way then we've got a spare if we want it. And these little leaves I think I'm going to have tucking out of here. Actually, I'm going to swap that one out for that one. We'll have this one here somewhere. So just a bit of random flower arranging. Oh, sticky fingers. So we'll stick those on in a minute. Mixture of glue and dimensionals. But we need to decide what we are going to put on as a greeting. Now, I don't know that I want to particularly. I'll perhaps just have a for you in the corner there on this one. We're going to go big happy on the next one. So let's just find a little snippet of Whisper White. And I think we'll go Calypso Coral. And let's stamp a for you on there. Let's just to take, oh, that fits perfectly in there. Anybody would think I'd measured and actually planned that, which I certainly didn't. Let's snip that end and make sure we're going back into the same punch. Now, if anybody local does need any need an order today, where's it gone? Come out. There you are, it's come out already. I'm thinking, where's that gone? My punch has eaten it. It hasn't, it's already there. If anybody does need an order to anything ordering today, I am putting in an order in a little while. Lovely. Right, let's get our bits and pieces and start building that up. So let's put in our green leaves first. Our little fancy pants green leaf. Then I'm going to take my Highland Heather flower and pop that down here, deliberately putting the bit where it's missed a bit on cutting at the top there, where I know it's going to get hidden. Put a couple of dimensionals on there. Might bring that one down slightly actually, so we see a bit more of that leaf behind it. We'll have this one coming up here. These ones I'm going to stick down. Let's have that one in there. This one coming out down there. going to pop dimensional on the back of here and have that tucked in there. Where's my other flower gone? Ah, here it is. I'm looking for, it's amazing how your brain works, isn't it? I'm looking for a Calypso coral flower. It's flipped over and it's white, so I can't see it. Let's have some of these leaves here. One coming in down there. One up there. One from out of there. And these little leaves we'll have peeping out from behind this flower. This one, just there, I think. We'll have our For You. Coming across on the corner. So those flowers are just beautiful. They're really bright and bold and big statement flowers. Make great home decor projects. I can see coming up with those, as well as really fabulous cards. And we've got other dies that you could sort of cut more detailed, that are now buried under scraps of paper. We've got sort of these inner detail bits just here, so you could die cut detail bits to go on top of both of those flowers. You've got your inner pieces here, you've got detailed dies for that sort of shape die, so as well as little flowers and things. So lots of great dies in there, as well as great stamps. So there's one. And then the other thing I want to do, bearing in mind that time is marching on, is I want to have a play with another new product. Perhaps we'll go with a piece of Whisper White. And I'm just going to, in fact, no, not Whisper White, Very Vanilla. We're going to go Very Vanilla. I'm going to take a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock and cut it at 9.9. Swing it round and cut it at 19.8. And then score it at 9.9. Just to make, we'll just have a little square card. We'll go with a little card just to have a look at this technique. Let's take that piece of ordinary Whisper White. So this is it's not thick, this is just ordinary Whisper White, and I've cut that to a 9cm square, and we will come back in and find a little mat to go in the middle of those in a minute. But the other product I wanted to have a bit of a play with and show you is something I was really quite excited to see in this new catalogue, and mine is as yet unopened. Now let me just get rid of some of the flakes and things off my hands. And the other thing I need to grab, sorry for wobbling you, is a bit of, Yes, absolutely, Jackie. Bit of hope for the future. Yeah, it is very spring-like. Funnily enough, nearly all the cards I have done this week have been quite spring-like. Do you think that's psychological? Could well be. So coming up in the new mini catalogue, in the January to June catalogue, is they are bringing back heat and stick powder. Now I have to say I haven't bought a new heat and stick powder. This is one that I stocked up on when we stocked it before, when it went when it retired. So I'm hoping that that will still work beautifully. So some heat and stick powder, and this is new gilded leafing. Now the first thing I'm going to do, because one of the reasons I hadn't used it before was because I'd yet to find a box. I am going to take that pot and I am going to tip it into that box. Now you can see instantly that that little pot now looks like it had got 10 times as much stuff in it. It is very floaty, very sticky. I will aim to get the rest of that out of the pot at a later date. That bit has stuck to my finger. So until I'm ready to use that, I'm going to put the lid on because it's very static. It will blow away in a minute if you go to use it with, you know, if you get a breeze, or if you've got your heat gun running, which we're going to have in a minute. So I'm going to take this lovely big Happy I'm going to use this block, I think. Will it fit nicely on that block? Yes, it will. So it fits beautifully on that H block. Just like that. I'm going to take my Versamark, and just as if I was going to be heat embossing with gold embossing powder, or silver embossing powder, or white embossing powder, I'm going to do everything that I normally would. I'm going to ink that up. I think I'm going to have that coming here. Happy. Right, I'm now going to take, and not yet got a box for this, so I'm going to grab a bit of scrap paper. I'm going to take my heat and stick powder, and just as if again I was doing embossing powder, I'm going to tap that over the top. So hopefully you can see that Happy. Let's put this back away. Now I'm going to heat it up just as I would embossing powder, but there is a difference. The minute this will turn quite quickly, and the minute it turns you want to move on. You don't want to overheat it, because what happens is as this heats, it becomes like a very sticky adhesive, but if you overheat it, it loses its sticky. So I've got my gun nice and hot, and I'm just going to run that over the top until that melts. Now obviously I'm a bit very aware that this is not a new heating of stick, so I'm hoping that it hasn't gone off. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put that into my gold leafing, and I'm just going to give that a bit of a rub. Let's just take the excess, and then I've just got a bit of our stamping sponge here, so you might not be using your sponges for blending, but you may well be using them for gold leafing. voila, we have a gold leafed happy. And you can see that that's a very different sort of texture to the texture that you get with embossing powder. Let's just pop the lid on that again, and then we will bring in stamp set. I'm just going to bring in the birthday. This I'm going to do in this memento. Ooh. Ink that up, and we'll have happy birthday. So I think this one we're going to go, oh, let's have a look. No, that's not what I want. Flirty flamingo. Let's have a flirty flamingo flower. And we're going to tuck that round that happy. And I'm going to take some of these little flowers that are two-step. And we will go, I had the mango melody out somewhere, didn't I? Where did that go? Just here. No, that's So Saffron. That's Mango Melody. So we're going really quite bright. We've left behind spring. We're sort of heading into summer. Let me squeeze one in there. Yes. Missed slightly, but the nice thing about these stamps are they're really quite forgiving. Now we have here, oh, that's not what I wanted, sort of blobby stamp, almost looks like frog spawn. I'm sure it's not frog spawn, but it does look a little bit like that sort of an effect. So I'm going to take some of those little spotty ones and add some in there and some in there. So I've done that in Versamark. And the other thing I'm going to do is this little sort of sunburst flower centre. We'll add that in there. Let's come back in with our heat and stick powder. And capture our blobs. Don't want to flick it too hard. It is very, so it's much finer powder than your embossing powder. Let's pop that away. If you should have some glitter that you're still using, you can use heat and stick to stick glitter. If you have any foil sheets, you can use heat and stick powder to stick foil sheets as well. So again, let's just heat that up until it melts. And that centre bit. You can go over it if you've got any sort of mica powders, those sorts of things. So let's just bring that over the top and rub that. And bring in our sponge. And gently rub off any excess. So obviously some of that was still slightly damp and just picked up some powder, which is now picked up the foiling, but it is very, very shiny and beautiful and sticks to everything and great fun. Let's take our trimmer and trim this to 9.5. There's our little card base gone. Lots of sparkly gold foil on there. Right at the end of my gold thread. I don't even know whether I've got enough. To tie a bow. Actually, it looks a very different gold, doesn't it? So I'm not sure that I actually like that anyway. So we will leave that for now. Just going to take some of these. So these again are that really sort of paler colour. We'll add in a few of those. So that's just given us an opportunity to get that gold leafing out of its box and have a bit of a play. Shiny, shiny, shiny. So that was good fun, playing with those flowers, and as Jackie says, very spring-like, looking beyond Christmas to brighter days to come. It won't be long till we've got to the shortest day here in the UK, and then things will be looking up. We'll be looking towards longer days and summer, and hopefully better things to come. So thank you for joining me. I'll be back on Monday morning, as I said, as we really begin the final few days countdown towards Christmas. So have a lovely weekend. Hope you have a productive weekend. Get to enjoy a mince pie along the way, and I'll see you on Monday.